All right, so I wanted to show you a couple items that I'm excited to use, and they're new to me. But I always like when I buy things to have a general idea of how big they are. So I just wanted to show you how they are, and I will try to do some demos for some of the items, but we'll see how my time goes because it is summer. My children go everywhere I go in the summertime because that's how I roll. So this item here, these are for storing your ice cream in them. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. They're like cold storage containers or something like that. But they come in a 2-pack. See, 2-pack. And what I bought them for was because my husband and my daughter are dairy intolerant, but my son and I aren't, and we make our own ice cream. I wanted to give them 2 flavors. My son tolerates sugar better than my daughter does right now. And so he can have store-bought ice cream, and it enables him to have sometimes 2 different flavors or just better flavors. And so if he has better flavors, I want to give him 2 flavors. And my daughter and my husband like very different things. So I'm able to, I have a KitchenAid attachment to make my ice cream, but I know that there's lots of other ice cream makers out there. That's just the one that I have. It's kind of a pain sometimes, but you do what you do for your children, right? So this container, you make your ice cream, whatever machine you have, if you have one, but some people don't have one and they just get this cold and then they put their liquid in here, or custard, depends on how you make it, and they just stir it occasionally, and they stir it and sometimes they whip it. Some people will just whip like almost like whipping cream. They do like a whipping cream and a milk mixture and whip it, or they make custard and pour it in here. I've done a custard with cashew milk, and it works pretty good, and I don't have to whip it. So that was another reason why I got these, is just for the ease of not having to whip it. But I wanted to be able to make my husband's and my daughter's in advance because theirs doesn't quite get as hard as regular ice cream. So I wanted to be able to make it ahead, and then if my son and I made ours, even if ours is drippy, I mean, the people who get to eat dairy don't get as good stuff sometimes as the people who don't get to eat dairy, because we got to make it as good as we can. So my ice cream, I only have one KitchenAid attachment, and I'm not looking to buy more ice cream making stuff at the moment. So I needed somewhere to store it while the other one's being made, and this helps it freeze faster because of conduction, right? So the conduction with metal is obviously better than glass. I have mostly glass jars, so this just enables me to keep their stuff cold and chill it faster. And then also, if we're going again to a function, I can just throw one of these. I don't have to throw both in because it's expensive and I don't want it to get wasted. So it enables me to provide them with their alternative ice cream. Another thing, again, just because of dietary issues, gluten-free doughs and batter. I would say batters are batters. It's weird, but some of the gluten-free batters are the same thick, but doughs are batters. It doesn't make sense, but it's the way it goes. So I have found that making a bread dough, or like donut dough, which is kind of similar to bread dough, it needs to be a batter, and so cutting out donuts just doesn't work. And I also know I have some friends who are on keto, and I know keto diets, like I've made a lot of stuff with almond flour too. You can't make those pro nuts by cutting them out. It's a batter. So what you can do is you can put it into like a pastry bag, and then you can just pipe it into these circles, and then you bake it in here. So I'm really excited about having this too, because it enables me to customize donuts for my kids. My son had a donut last month and said, as he was eating it, he turned to my husband and said, "Dad, this is my first donut. I've always wanted a donut." And my husband said, "You've had a donut before." And he said, "No, I haven't, Dad." And my husband said, "Yes, you have." And my son said, "When have you ever given me a donut?" And my husband and I realized, oh my goodness, our poor children have never had donuts. So just for the sake of having a childhood where you don't hate your parents when you grow up, I got this donut maker. I also got this little brownie maker. Now, I got both brownie makers because it comes in a pack, and so they're a little bit cheaper. I got the pack because sometimes you need a bigger brownie, but also small cakes. Like, again, when I send my kids to a birthday party, I like being able to send them a cake. And cupcakes are small and round. It doesn't really look like part of a cake. And using these square ones, I can send what looks like a tiny cake with them to these birthday parties. So I actually haven't done that yet. So that's what I got this for mainly. But also, you know, most people like a good sized brownie. I don't like a good sized brownie. I like brownie edges. And so there's that pan that has brownie edges everywhere. And I've talked to a lot of people and they said that sometimes it burns because it actually gets too hot too fast. And then a lot of people have told me that they're a pain in the butt to clean because they're not actually non-stick. And so they're stainless steel. And I have a love-hate relationship with some non-stick, but for brownie edges, I will do it. So I got this smaller one, mostly for me and mostly for my kids, so they can have one bite brownies. Because you go to a lot of parties where there's one bite brownies, and it just like they're so sweet. And especially the gluten-free ones are insanely sweet, and they've got a bunch of crap in them. Like they have corn and a ton of oil, and I just can't feed those to my kids in good conscience. And especially knowing that in today's world, so many of our food items have extra sugar in them. We got to reduce the sugar somewhere. So if you make your own brownies, you can do that too. I'm actually going to do a demo with it where I use a brownie mix. And so just know that I don't judge anyone if you do, because sometimes you just have to use a mix because of life is, you know, moving fast. And so it has a lot of sugar in it. So I do make things with some sugar in it, but I try most of the time not to, because I do actually have to kind of pay attention to how many grams of sugar my kids get in a week. But we're going on a road trip soon, so I'm gonna make my brownies and put them in here, and I'll freeze some and take some with us as well. So I'll do that one in a different video. And then another item that when I saw my friend had this, I thought, I'll never use that. But it came in my kit, and I was wrong. It is awesome. So I'll show a video with me using it hopefully tomorrow as well. But I mean, it could happen later this week because we'll see what I feel like making in the next couple days. And so it's kind of like an egg slicer, but it's giant. So you could put in like 2 or 3 eggs, depending on how big your egg is. And you can just slice them up and toss them on top of your salad. So if you're looking for just a quick and easy protein, we don't use a lot of eggs, boiled eggs at our house because my husband doesn't do great with eggs, but my kids like to eat them. And because I can slice them really quickly and put them in the lunch and they look really pretty now, it's gonna make it a lot easier to add them to their lunches. But the other thing is you can cut a bunch of fruit or like soft vegetables in here too. So one of my friends uses hers to cut a bunch of strawberries. She puts 5 strawberries in hers, but I like to be as fast as possible. And I don't care if my strawberries are crammed in there. So I cram mine in there and I get like 7 or 8 to 10, depending on how big my strawberries are. And I don't care if they're uniform in slices, but they do come out pretty uniform. If I have strawberries tomorrow, I'll show you a video with those, but I don't believe I have any at the moment. But it's a really fast way to, depending on how many kids you have, like my kids, I have those tin lunch boxes for them, and so does my husband, and so do I. And so this would be a fast way to just like strawberries, boom, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I've tried to just jam whole strawberries into those lunch kits, and you get about 2 into a little, they have like little compartments this big or this big, and it's kind of a waste of space. So they just need to be sliced. And so this is a fast way to do it, or you could throw them on your salad, or you could throw them on top of a dessert, like if you're making strawberry shortcake or it's a birthday party and you want to have a bunch of strawberries on top. It's just a fast way to do that. They also coincidentally work really well for tomatoes. And then this is the last thing I'll show you guys today. This is also stoneware. I think I've already shown you a video about how much I love stoneware. I haven't used this one a ton yet, but I got it because I bake sourdough, and gluten-free sourdough is a pain in the butt. So don't want it to get stuck in the pan. So I can't wait till I get a good seasoning on this. But the reason why I really was willing to splurge on this piece of stoneware is that sourdough is something that a lot of people don't understand. Sourdough is acidic, and acidic things will rust out metal. And so my mom had these old aluminum loaf pans, and I loved them, and she used them all the time for everything. She lined them with parchment paper sometimes, but with gluten-free sourdough, and if you have regular sourdough but you want it to be a little more sour, or you want it to be proofed for longer, which does break down the gluten, and a lot of people, even people who are not gluten intolerant, are finding that they digest things better if they let it proof for longer. If you leave it in a metal pan, it will eat away at that pan a little bit. And I don't know how many of you are out there aware that aluminum is a big problem to have in your food on a regular basis and in quantities. You can buy aluminum-free baking powder and baking soda, and there's a reason why they sell it with that label. It's because a lot of baking sodas and baking powders are made with aluminum. It's part of the process to make it. So if it's in there, you're getting small doses of it over time, and that can lead to a lot of health problems. And so if you're making sourdough in a metal pan, it's going to erode away your metal slowly over time. And if it's aluminum, you're going to get that into your food regularly. And the other thing is you're going to wreck that pan. And I've tried making my sourdough in in non-stick pans, and it takes the peel right off of it sometimes. I've tried it in ceramic covered pans and bought these extra expensive ceramic covered pans, and it ate away at the ceramic pan because I do let my sourdough sit for 8 hours to 24 hours in its pan, depending on how sour I want it. I do like my sourdough quite sour, and so do my children. 8 hours is sufficient if we don't have time. It's good. But we all like ours quite sour because we like to dip it in olive oil and balsamic vinegar. And that little bit of tang, actually it's more than a little bit, that tang though, really complements those, the vinegar and the balsamic vinegar. And we use like a fancy schmancy balsamic vinegar because we found that it made our kids eat more vegetables when we put it on a salad. I use a peach flavored one most of the time, and it is killer. I love it. But it really pairs well with sourdough. So I have this for that very specific reason. If you're dabbling in sourdough or you wanted to get more, then that's a really good reason to invest in a stoneware loaf pan.